Whoa, look at all the snow we got. It's all melting pretty fast. Hi YouTube. Well, it may be cold and snowy outside, but down in my growing area it's nice and warm and always sunny. So today I'm going to show you some of the plants that are just coming into bloom down here. The first one here, this is where I have some of my Lycaste orchids. These are really fun to grow. They're really easy to grow actually. They don't mind drying out in between waterings. They're really easy to grow and flower under lights. And yeah, they always put on a good show when they do come into flower. So the one that's blooming today is called Lycaste Chicago Red. There's a specific cultivar name associated with this, but I can't remember at the moment which one. But you can see it has a big, beautiful flower. It's nice and red. It looks a little bit bleached out actually because of the lights up above, but it has a beautiful red color and it has these nice like spotted red. I think they're sepals that are, you know, covering the lip. And the lip is really nice too. It has a nice orangey yellow glow deep inside there. So it's a really beautiful flower that once it's all the flowers are open, I will bring it upstairs so I can enjoy it in my little display area. The first flower just opened up, but you can see it has another big one that's just about to open here. And then there's another one behind right there, another big bud that's coming up, and that's all just from the one bulb in the back here that matured over the last summer. So yeah, I got this orchid last spring and it's doing really well for me. I love Lycastes because they're just so interesting and I love the flower. Some of them have a really nice, interesting scent. It's kind of hard to describe. It's like a spicy, almost like a gingery scent. And yeah, when they do start to flower, if you keep them in a nice cool room that's not, you know, it's warm but not too hot, the blooms will last for like 4 to 6 weeks really easily, and you can enjoy them the whole time. So yeah, that's Lycaste Chicago Red. Another orchid that's blooming for me right now is this one. It's a little Cymbidium called Cymbidium Ladyfire Red Angelica. It's a really nice plant. It stays nice and compact and always blooms really easily for me. And it has these nice red blooms. There is a little bit of a scent from them as well in the morning when it's nice and sunny. And yeah, I had to bring them inside because we've had these cold temperatures here on the west coast. I didn't want all the buds to get blasted. And well, I have forgotten to leave my Cymbidiums outside when it's below zero, but they don't always handle it very well. So it's nice. This year I just decided, well, I'm not gonna mess around with moving them in and out, so I'm just gonna let them bloom here. I don't have enough room to bring them upstairs and enjoy them. Maybe I will once all the blooms open up. There is another spike coming up down here, so maybe once that one is all open, I'll find a nice spot for it to bloom inside. Another one I have is this one. It's a small one. It's called Enzan Myth. It has a really beautiful, nice shape, and I love the light pink and the kind of light yellow in the middle. It just gives it such a nice glow. Yeah, Cymbidiums, these are really easy to grow. I really like them. They're actually one of the easiest orchids to grow. You can leave them outside most of the year. On the west coast I can leave them out almost, I'd say 9-10 months of the year. There's about 2 months where it can get a little bit too cold for them outside, so I find a sheltered spot for them inside. Although I can show you one that I forgot to leave out, and it got a little bit of frost damage. So, but they do survive actually. They're pretty resilient plants, so I find that they're a little bit hard to kill. They're really easy to get to bloom. You can just let them stay outside when the temperatures start getting cool in the fall and the days are still warm, and that'll help them set their flower spikes. And you'll notice this fat little bud at the bottom of the bulb that starts to form, and then once you notice that in the fall, you can bring it inside and they'll shoot out these nice beautiful flower spikes, and they last for, again, like 4 to 6 weeks if you put them in a nice cool room. And a lot of them have a nice interesting smell as well. And the only thing is, once you notice the flower spikes forming, don't move them too much. Let the flower spikes grow and develop towards the light so that the flowers kind of open and form this nice like spray. If you move them around too much, all the flowers kind of turn in different directions and they don't set themselves up very nicely to view. So when I brought them down here, I kind of put them so that they're facing towards the lights, and left them alone so that the flower spikes are kind of developing. But even, see this one, I can see that some of them are going in different directions, so it might not have the nicest flowering this year. But if they were upstairs by a window, then they would probably form a lot nicer. So this is the other Cymbidium I was talking to you about. This one, actually, I left it outside in the fall. I forgot all about it, and it got about a week of really cold temperatures where it went down below 0, and got a little bit of frost damage. So you can see there's all these dead leaves that I need to pull off, but I haven't really, gone about doing it yet. And but I can feel that the bulbs are still really firm. And actually, I think all these little sheaths and stuff help protect it from frost, because it has all these like layers of leaves. So, because it has that, it does serve as a little bit of protection. But you can see, like, here was a new growth that's developing, and it got damaged. Even though there's a green leaf there, I'm pretty sure that this will kind of fall off by the springtime. Here's another one. You can see all the leaves in the middle from this new growth. They're just like all dead, even though, well, you never know. This one, it might still be alive and plump up and form a little bulb, but you can see once, a lot of these leaves are dead. But surprisingly, this one, this growth, it's still looking pretty good, nice and green. The bulb is nice and firm, and you can see there's a flower spike growing out from there. So even though it was exposed to really cold temperatures and damaged, like, you can see it looks really damaged. It's not a nice looking plant anymore. It just has all these dried bulbs. It's still got enough energy to send out a bloom, and I'm sure this growth will be fine. So I'll probably just repot this after it blooms and set it back outside, and then let it start growing again in the spring. And probably even all these old bulbs that lost all their leaves will send out new growths, and within the next year it'll be a nice big plant again. I obviously am not recommending leaving plants outside in the really cold temperatures, but when it does happen, it's not always the end of the world. So one thing I learned about cold temperatures, when you have orchids and you're like, oh shoot, I forgot my plants outside, if any of you do that, or you notice that they got snowed on, which happened with some of my plants last year. Actually, the most important thing is not to bring them inside into like really warm temperatures. The best thing for them is to leave them in cool temperatures. Kind of, if the temperatures are going to be, still minus or whatever, don't move them into a warm room. That actually accelerates all the damage, and I think I did that with this plant. Like, I just moved it inside, but actually what I read was you should leave it in a cool area, and so like a garage or somewhere where it's still cool but not as cold as what caused the damage, and it kind of lets the plant, I forget why that works, but anyway, it does work. I did that with some of my Masdevallias that I left out last year, and they got snowed on, and all I did was throw some burlap down over top of them, and they made it through no problem. They didn't even lose any leaves, surprisingly. So yeah, some orchids that are good. I know I've read that some orchids are really cold tolerant, like Cymbidiums. They're pretty cold tolerant. I have to say they are pretty cold tolerant, because this one was full on frozen, and like you can see, it's still alive, and they're a lot tougher than sometimes even I give them credit for. This is another little plant that I have that's blooming right now. It's called Rhyncholaeliocattleya, Hsinying, Sunbeam, Juliets, and it's a beautiful yellow Lycaste, and it has this nice red lip. It's hard to see because the way the fluorescent lights make it look, but it's got a beautiful red lip, and I really like how it has these little faint red flares, and it has a really amazing smell, almost like a thick makeup-y kind of smell, but it's really nice. And it's been blooming down here for about a month now, and I haven't brought it up just because, well, I'll probably bring it up today actually, just to enjoy the last little bit of it, because the color is so bright and sunny. And yeah, I just like how down here in the growing area it gets really warm, and then it fills up the whole growing area with this nice smell. So I've just kind of left it alone down here. I got this plant last year, and I'm hoping that this year it'll put out a couple of growths, and then by next year it'll have many more flowers. I have another one that is just about to come into bloom, and the only difference is it doesn't have the red flares. It's just yellow and red. So I don't know why that is. Some of them, like this one, is called Juliets, but it's a little bit different than the other one, and the other one is also called Juliets. So I'm not sure why that is, but anyway, I'm not complaining. It's a beautiful flower. This is another little orchid. This is a Cattleya maxima tall, and I got this one last year as well, and this is the second set of blooms that are just opening up on this plant. It had another spike right here that had 3 blooms that just finished blooming, and then it has a new growth here with another bloom spike that's going to come. So this is actually a really nice plant, and I'm really happy that I bought it. This is the first year that I've had it, so it's been most of the year just putting out a couple of growths and putting out new roots, but it's already like gonna bloom for me 3 times this year. So this is a really rewarding plant. It's a species, I think it's from Mexico and South America, and there's all these different color varieties of it. I have some younger plants of Cattleya maxima alba, and I have some rubra as well, which are red, and albas are white, in case you didn't know. But anyway, they have a nice smell too, and once the blooms are all spread out all the way, I will bring this one upstairs so I can enjoy too. It's really easy to grow. I don't do anything special to get it to flower, but it's been blooming already for close to 2 months, so I think once all is said and done, it's going to be in bloom for 3 months once this one matures and sends out some flower spikes too. So that's a really nice plant that I've been enjoying. I also have this one. This is a Vanda. This one is called Raski Gold, and this is a white Vanda that's been blooming for, it's been opening up over the last month already. So the flowers, it's hard to see the color down here with the lights, but it does have like this brown goldy tone inside the blooms, and you know, they're all nicely opening up. And yeah, I'm excited because this plant last year, see, it has all these black spots all over the leaves. That's because down here in my grow area, before it got insulated, it was a little bit too cold for it. It didn't like it, so all the leaves started looking really sickly and got these black spots, and I was really close to throwing it out. But the other thing is it did send out a little flower spike last year, but I guess it was too cold for even it to develop. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna give this plant one more year. And you can see all the new leaves that it put out over the course of the year, and they're nice and green and healthy again. So I'm glad that I kept it. And then in the fall I saw, okay, it started putting out a flower spike, so I was like hoping that it would bloom nicely for me, and sure enough it did. So I'm really glad that I hung on to it, and it's been going for a while now, and just waiting for the buds to finish opening completely, and then I'll bring it upstairs too so I can enjoy it in my little display area. This is the last plant I'm going to talk about today, and it's not looking so nice anymore, but it actually was really beautiful. And this one has a beautiful smell, and it smelled up my whole grow area every day while the lights were on. So I just left it down here because it just made everything so pleasant. You can see it had another bloom, and it's all dried up. It looks like a little bit of a fossil, but I just left it because it hasn't dropped off. And this one is just starting to dry up, and it bloomed for a good, like, it started blooming at the beginning of January, so we're into the 6th week of the bloom. And I love the kind of golden yellowy tone of the lip. This one is called Rhyncholaeliocattleya Paradise Ruby Sweetie, and wow, the smell is so sweet, and so it's almost like, I can only describe it as almost like a honey sweet thick smell, and it just smells up the whole grow area. It's a really beautiful plant. You can see it has these nice leaves. It put out 2 growths and 2 blooms this year, and it bloomed for me twice last year too. So this is one of my favorite new plants that I got in the last year. I didn't even repot it, actually, just left it in the pot that I bought it in. But this year I will, once these blooms fall off, I'm just gonna repot it into a nice pot and let it go to town. But this is a really beautiful plant. If you ever see it around, it's called Rhyncholaeliocattleya Paradise Ruby with the specific name Sweetie. Anyway, that's the end of the what's like growing on tour in my grow area. I don't know if any of you watching grow any orchids under lights, but I find growing orchids under lights very rewarding, especially since you know, I live in Canada, and we get some, well, even though I live on the West Coast where we can grow lots of plants year round, it does get kind of gloomy and low sunlight, so I have found it hard to get certain orchids to grow well and bloom for me. But ever since I started growing them under lights, which was about 2 years ago, I've found that I've had a lot of success, and I find it really rewarding. And I always enjoy, you know, even in the darkest, gloomiest days, coming into my grow area and watching what's blooming, and it kind of feels like a little oasis for me. So this is my grow area as it is now, but in the next few months I'm going to set it up differently and move it to a different place, so it'll be easier for me to move around and water things. But anyway, hope you enjoyed the video today. I'll leave you with this nice image of this Lycaste orchid. If you have any questions or comments, please comment down below. And again, thanks for watching. Bye.